Hey, you're here! I wondered if you'd come back to us. It's me, Sister Dren, one of your favorite horror mistresses, here to bring you another horror movie review.
If you're Sister Jen, I guess that makes me Sister Hallie. And I want to thank you for coming back to our little channel called /Sisters.
Yes. Today, we are going to take a meta dive. And not meta like Facebook meta. I mean like meta as in the...
Like Scream.
Yes. Yes.
So, by examining a film that completely subverts the whole horror genre.
Yeah, and this one really does a damn good job of doing it. This is a movie that literally shot to my top 5 movies of all time the very first time that I watched it, and it hasn't budged. I mean, it is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I know I say that a lot. I love this movie, I love this movie, I love this movie. This one literally is. Like, if you needed me to give you a top 5, I would, and this would probably be number 4.
The film we were talking about today had a hard time getting distribution, which actually led to an interesting situation in the fact that one of the main stars of this kind of blew up before this film was released, which helped sell this film.
Yeah.
We're talking about Thor himself, Chris Hemsworth.
Yes, this movie was made in 2009, like filmed in 2009, but didn't get distribution, not wide distribution until 2012. It really did. It came out in 2011, didn't get a big wide distribution until 2012, and by then Chris Hemsworth was Thor. Everybody knew who he was, and people flocked
at
to the
that
theaters.
point he had done Thor, and then he had done The Avengers.
Right.
Marvel's The Avengers. And if you haven't figured out yet today what we're talking about, why we are talking about the 2009.
Yes,
but 2011 Cabin in the Woods.
Woohoo! Why don't we go ahead and just jump right in, because this is a story with lots of fun twists and turns and lots to talk about.
And lots to unpack.
Yes, definitely.
We start our story as most Cabin in the Woods stories start, with 5 kids preparing for their trip.
Actually, we start before that.
That's true.
We really do start the story.
That is true. So, they actually tried to subvert the whole thing by, like, what is it, like, first 2 minutes of the film or something like that, is 2 guys riding a tram through an underground facility. We're assuming it's an underground facility because there's no windows or anything like that.
Right, it looks underground. At least, according the way
two engineers by the name of Gary Sitterson and Steve Hadley. One of them has actually been on our channel before.
Which one? Because I feel like maybe both of them have.
I can't remember which one he played, but it's Brad Whitford.
Bradley Whitford? Okay, so that's Hadley.
That's Hadley.
Yep.
He was the father in Get Out.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
He just has whiter hair and a beard and glasses.
Yeah, he's aged a little bit, but nothing wrong with that.
No, by no means. But they are getting news that the operation in Stockholm went south.
What does that mean?
We find out.
Anyways, this means that the only remaining operations are them and Japan, which Japan has a 100% clearance rate. Again, what does this mean? What are we talking about?
I don't know, because then we're immediately cut to the 5 kids.
Yeah.
We then get introduced to Dana, who is packing for the weekend for a weekend trip to a cabin in the woods with 4 of her other friends. Like I said before, where have we seen this before?
This is a very obvious reference.
It's a very obvious trope.
5 friends heading out to a cabin in the woods.
We've done it in 2 other videos like this.
We have.
But the friends are with her. The friends that are with her are Jules, Kurt, Holden, and Marty.
Yes, Marty, my favorite.
Marty, I love how Marty pulls up in his fucking car and he locks the door and checks to make sure it's locked with the window down.
Cracks me up every time. And just Marty, just him showing up, literally like smoking a coffee cup bomb.
Which the production spent over $5,000 to make it actually happen, because it didn't exist prior to that.
I need one.
So, do you? Interesting fact about Marty. We never. The only time we see him in anything other than like a long sleeve shirt and stuff like that is when he's going to the lake, and it just has shorts on. He still has a long sleeve shirt on. Do you know why? Fran Kranz, the man playing Marty, was more ripped than Chris Hemsworth was.
Shut up.
He was so ripped that they had to give him baggy clothes to wear constantly so he did not overshadow the obvious jock of the film.
Yeah. Wow, that's hilarious.
He was more ripped than fucking Thor.
Yeah, that makes him even more sexy to me.
That's just nuts.
I absolutely love Marty's character. I think he's hilarious. Of the whole group, I feel like he would be like my best friend. Anyways, they all load into Kurt's RV and head off to Kurt's cousin's.
Kurt's dad's RV.
To Kurt's dad's RV.
Because he talks about Marty smoking the shit in his fucking dad's
RV. To head on to Kurt's cousin's cabin in the woods. And as they leave, we see an agent on the roof of Dana's apartment building.
Mm. Well, there's also like the question of like the fact that Kurt, right?
Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth character. He's very clearly supposed to be this jock person, right?
Right, but he's clearly very, very smart. He starts suggesting books to Dana
and everything like that. And then his girlfriend, who is also very intelligent, decides to dye her hair blonde right before the trip.
Yeah. It's very clear that, like, the hands were moving things long before the trip even started. But, yes, we see an agent on top of the building, and this is like our first very clear indication that there is something, that there is something very suspicious going on here, and there's something like behind what is going on with the kids. Somebody's watching them, and there's a reason for it.
Yeah, there is. They stop at a gas station on their way to the cabin, where they are met by a racist old white man known as the Harbinger.
Yeah,
you're all doomed.
Yes. A very clear reference to
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th, and you're all doomed. But like, it's a trope. The Harbinger of Doom is a trope in the horror movies in general.
Well, I mean, obviously the cabin in the woods is a trope in horror movie genre.
And that is the point of this movie, right, is that we are really playing on all the tropes, but in the most delightful way.
Right.
Of course, they're not going to listen to him.
Would you?
No.
He's
a crazy old white man. I'm not going to listen to that crazy old man. He's probably going to go off about
so if he was a crazy
God knows what conspiracy
Wait. If he was a crazy old black man, would you listen to him?
Probably not.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure race was not affecting your judgment on that.
If it's a crazy old person who's like at a gas station and is spouting off weird conspiracy shit, I'd be like, okay, Grandpa, go enjoy your coffee. I'm going to carry on now. Doesn't matter what color their skin is. I don't think it has anything to do with them being a racist old white man. I wouldn't listen to him.
No. I knew that would be your answer. I just had to ask.
Also, like, I think them being like young college kids, they would just be like, okay, boomer, you know, like, and move on.
As they drive through a tunnel leading to the cabin, we get another clue that things are not exactly what they seem. When we see a bird fly into an invisible field and
explode.
Like,
I mean, kind of just, and fall.
Right.
I mean, yeah. Pretty interesting. Meanwhile, back in the lab, Sitterson and Hadley are controlling things from their end, at least as much as they can, considering, while the rest of the crew takes bets on which of the creatures will be at the center of tonight's horror show. And this is when we really start to kind of get a feel for what's happening.
I love, if you pause this and just read the entire
I literally
whiteboard.
Sat there and read the entire whiteboard earlier today. I just sat there staring at it like,
And mind you, like, the whiteboard says things like, redneck zombie murder family, zombies, mermen, deadites, evil possessed tree.
It literally says deadites on there.
Right.
Literally says deadites. So,
which is obviously a very clear
not even reference. Just a reference. That is straight up like putting it in the same universe
as Evil Dead.
Yes.
I wonder if they consulted Sam Raimi.
I wondered that too, because when the very first time that I noticed that it actually said deadites, I was like, okay.
Right. Well, okay. I mean, to that end,
there's a literal Cenobite at the end of this movie.
Yeah, no, I know.
I mean,
it's not as...
We'll get there.
Right.
Sorry.
But...
Out of myself.
Yes, you are. Very much so. Calm down. You still have to get through the review. But also, with like the whole Deadite thing and everything like that, you know that Jason Goes to Hell was supposed to be set in the Evil Dead universe, right? He was supposed to be a Deadite.
Yes. Yes, I did know that.
That's actually a subplot.
Which is where there was supposed to be the crossover between Freddy versus Jason versus Ash.
Eventually.
But never happened.
Well, we did get the comic book. True. Anyway. That's beside the point. We also hear from the chem department how they are using hair dye to control Jules. Notice how we said that she had dyed her hair earlier in the movie?
A girl who is very smart now suddenly is turning into a ditzy blonde because of the hair dye. And they even said that, I mean, the chem department says, we're using all these little ways to manipulate them with the hair dye. And, you know, they have ways to put pheromones into the air and to... I mean, obviously, like, the alcohol that they're drinking is loosening up everything.
The alcohol, the drugs that they're doing, with the exception of Marty.
Yep. Yeah.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
The group of 5 pull up to the cabin. Like, at this point, they hadn't even gotten to the cabin yet. They pull up to the cabin, and this is the most glaringly obvious reference to the Evil Dead that, like,
it's almost
identical
to the cabin.
The only thing that's missing from the cabin in the Evil Dead universe is that swing on the front porch. That's the only thing that's missing in this movie, is the swing banging on the front porch. But yeah, it's a literal, like shot-for-shot reference. The way that they walk up on it, the way that it's shot, it is 5 college kids walking up to a cabin in the woods.
As if it wasn't already clear enough.
Right.
As the group settles into their new digs for the weekend, Holden decides to take down a very disturbing painting.
That painting is fucked.
It was kind of interesting, I'll admit. I actually,
the more you look at it, the more disturbing it is.
Yeah, but it's a very interesting painting nonetheless.
Absolutely.
Needless to say, he looks at it and he's like, no. Takes it down and immediately finds what?
A two-way mirror where he can spy on Dana. And when she starts taking her clothes off, he stops and he's like, okay, wait. But what I love about that is that he's like, we can trade rooms. And she's like, yeah, cool. And then he immediately, like, takes his clothes off where she's watching him.
And then she hangs the painting back up, and then she sees that and she's like, no.
And
then puts a blanket over top of it. Oh, God.
That evening, though, they all kind of settle in for drinks and, for Marty to sit back and smoke some joints, which, I mean, that would be what I would. I don't drink. I don't drink at all anymore, so that would be my role. And like I said, Marty's like my spirit animal. Like, I feel like I would be Marty. I would hope. I would hope to be Marty. Marty's honestly, like, the best character in this movie. Anyway.
Well, if you're Marty, then I have to be the virgin. You work with what you do.
Yeah. Well, she's not, she even, like, kind of says, like, I'm not a virgin. She even, like, says that to Holden. Because at some point, like, she says, I don't mean never. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, there's also the line at the very end.
Yeah, where it's like, it doesn't matter if
we'll get there, too. Right.
But yeah, so they all settle in and kind of hang out for the evening.
And they end up playing what 5 college kids usually end up doing, playing Truth or Dare.
Of course.
Which leads to a really gross and interesting scene that I cringe every time I watch it.
I cringe every time too. It's so funny.
But Marty asks
dares
Jules to make out with that moose head over there. And
no, it was the wolf head.
No, he says moose.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
And he's like, well, what is it? And they're like, that's clearly a wolf's head. He's like, whatever.
Yeah, but that thing has, like, the most disgustingly realistic tongue, and I think it's pretty gross. But, nonetheless, as they're playing, suddenly the cellar door pops open.
So what are 5 college kids to do when the cellar door suddenly pops open?
I don't know.
Me, personally, I'd shut it and move on with my fucking day.
Yeah, but Kurt goes, must have been the wind.
The wind must have blown it open.
That makes what kind of sense?
And Marty even goes like, the wind? What are you talking about? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, Marty calls everybody out on their bullshit, and that's why I love him. Anyways.
Even though Marty seems to be attempting to make good decisions, they all end up going down to the cellar.
And they say you can't make good decisions when you're high.
You can't.
Anyways.
They end up going down into the fucking cellar anyway, because this is this is what the movie... Without it, we wouldn't have a movie,
right,
honestly.
True.
But, I mean, this is also the trope. This is the trope.
The point is that they're manipulating these kids to go down into the cellar.
Right,
They're forcing their hands.
Where they see a handful of weird, creepy items that they all pick up different things.
A handful? Hundreds. Hundreds of different relics.
I mean, because there's only 5, I say a handful. Because they only pick up...
Because they only really pick up
their items or whatever.
Right.
And they're all, playing around and manipulating different items.
One of the items that Kurt picks up is actually a big conch shell.
Kurt doesn't pick that up.
Well, one of them.
Marty.
One of the guys. Maybe
Marty.
No, I don't think Marty picks it up. Maybe it was Holden.
It had to been Holden then, because Kurt was manipulating the sphere that's clearly supposed to be the lament configuration box.
Yeah, that's a lot.
The puzzle box.
The puzzle box, yes,
yeah.
Yes. They start exploring, and each of them is kind of called to different items in the basement. And, we get all these different nods to, franchises, straight up, especially with,
the puzzle box, obviously, is clearly meant to be Hellraiser.
But more on that later.
Right. But then, Dana picks up the diary belonging to Patience Buckner and begins to flip through it, reading some of it. When she comes to a Latin phrase, Marty begs her not to fucking read it.
Don't read the fucking Latin.
Which is honestly a clear fucking nod to Evil Dead.
Mm-hmm. Don't read the Latin.
Don't read the Kandarian
Don't read it!
script. Don't do it! But she does it anyway.
After hearing, a whisper, and Marty hears it.
Marty hears all of it.
I know.
He hears all of it.
More on that later.
Fucking high. That's why. But there's a whisper spoken saying, read it. And she does.
Of course she does.
So what fucking happens?
A movie without it. It's pretty clear that Marty is picking up on fishy things going on, though, because he hears the whisper of read it, and he's just what the fuck? He almost looks into the camera when he said it. He almost looks right into the camera.
He does.
So close. But yeah, she proceeds to read the Latin anyways, and
we cut back to the lab sequence, where it's proclaimed that we have a winner! The Buckners! And the winners are Maintenance and Ronald, the intern, who has to split the pool.
Yeah. Well.
So everybody downstairs, or I'm assuming it's downstairs.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Because honestly, at this point, we
do find out later that it is.
No,
downstairs.
I know, but at this point, we don't know. We don't know. But downstairs, everybody in this
was taking bets.
I call it just the facility. Yeah. Right? We're taking bets on what creature was going to get released.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And of course, it was the Buckners. And they may be a zombie redneck torture family, but they're our zombie redneck torture family.
Isn't that what one of the... Yeah, that's like... Hadley releases pheromones to entice Kurt and Jules to leave to have sex outside. Oh, this is going to end so poorly.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are treated to a moment where all of the people in the lab are watching the two start to get busy!
Baby! Before Hadley and
Alright, get out of here, you sick fucks!
Out of here. Yeah. But that's just so that they can watch privately. A couple of freaks.
Well, that's because they're the ones overseeing everything.
I know.
Whatever.
I think they just like to watch. Anyways, the show...
I wonder if they jerked each other off, too.
The show isn't really for them, though. That's for someone else. For something else. We just don't really know that or understand what that is.
Actually, they do say that, though. Like there's other people watching.
Yep. That this show isn't for us.
I always took it to mean the director. Or the fact that they were actually streaming it as, a horror movie, perhaps.
Wouldn't that be cool? But that's not what this is.
I know, but you never know.
Yeah.
Because they never explain the facility
That's the
properly.
point. Is that it gets your mind going, what the fuck is happening right now? What are we even watching? What is the point of all of this?
Jules and Kurt are attacked by the Buckners, who decapitates Jules. Kurt is able to escape, but not before getting stabbed in the back, which he never shows any sign of it afterwards.
No, not really. Actually, he didn't get stabbed in the back. He got the bear trap got. No,
I watched him pull shears out of his back.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
And the shears were this.
Yep,
fucking
I remember that.
long.
Yep. So, back in the cabin, though, Marty discovers surveillance equipment. And starts to put together that something very suspicious is happening here. But just as he's about to go and tell the others, he's stabbed in the back and pulled through the window by one of the Buckners.
I wasn't stabbed.
Yeah, he's definitely... He gets stabbed in the back.
I see them.
He gets pulled through, but he definitely gets stabbed because he's bleeding.
Well, I mean, he's covered in blood later.
So something we didn't mention is when Jules dies, down in the lab, they pull a lever, and blood is drained into a special-looking ceremonial cup that then drains down into something else.
Relief,
yes.
Or carving in stone.
Right, right. Now, this also happens after Marty. This is important to remember because he does spill blood at this point. Mm-hmm. At least enough blood for them to
assume that he is
correct.
Crossed the Rainbow Bridge.
Yes.
And we're not talking about Thor's Rainbow Bridge either.
No. But yeah, so he's pulled out by one of the Buckners. Yeah.
Back in the lab, we learn the site in Japan has now officially failed in what they were trying to do.
They had a creepy ghost girl that turned into a frog.
Yeah, they trapped her spirit into an innocent frog.
Yes.
Okay. Meaning that the American right is the last hope that humanity has. Whatever the fuck this means.
Yes. Now, Kurt, Holden, and Dana attempt to escape in their RV. But Sitterson
tries to have them...
Well, the tunnel up. What should have happened is that tunnel should have been blown a long time ago, according to them.
Right.
But the tunnel is open, so he literally, gets underneath a control panel and manually fucking does it.
Right.
And blows the hole before they can escape.
Right.
Because they would have left. They would have been able to get out.
Right. They were right at the end of the tunnel, too, when the tunnel blows, and then they have to back into this, I'm assuming, some type of dome over the thing.
Right. Or at least a big wall that goes around. I would assume that it's a dome.
I would assume.
Anyways.
What happens in the facility is that the people that were the demolition team never got the call to blow the tunnel.
Which is something that is supposed to be done, at least from what I can understand, by the director. It's supposed to have come from the top.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Anyway,
the next part is, bye-bye, Kurt.
Right. So, Holden informs Kurt that he's got a clear run, and he gets on his dirt bike and attempts to jump the ravine, because it's, a 15-foot ravine, maybe? Yeah. With, a 5-foot landing on the other side.
It's doable.
He's like, you're going to have to gun the hell out of it, but I think you can do it.
Yeah.
He goes for it, only to...
promptly hit that goddamn force field and die. Dropping to the ground immediately. That shit.
No, dropping forever.
Forever. Yeah, I mean, it just goes.
It just keeps going and going. I was waiting for it, and you never
hear anything? They're like, no.
He just keeps going.
Yeah. So they get back in the RV, though, and
Holden decides that instead of going back to the cabin, they're just going to drive as far as they fucking can, and if they have to drive into the woods and get out and walk the rest of the way, they're going to walk their happy asses away from this place.
Which, smart, But then Holden promptly gets stabbed in the fucking throat
by one of the
Buckners. Yep. And
the RV crashes into a lake.
Yeah. Dana does manage to escape, though. Only barely gets up to the hatch at the top of the RV.
Gets some air,
and then is able to get out, which is, But when she gets out, it's then that she kind of realizes that this experience is being staged and controlled. And, she kind of realizes that before he gets killed by the zombie. But yeah, I mean,
it's after that she's really starting to put everything together. I think the dip in the lake kind of woke her up a little bit.
Yes, I think
the lab employees, seeing that Dana is the only survivor, celebrate the success of the rite, explaining that the virgin is an optional sacrifice, meaning she doesn't have to die.
She's our final girl. We get a final girl.
As long as everyone else dies before her, we can have a final girl.
Right.
Gee, where have we seen this before? every other fucking horror movie that's come before.
Yeah, yeah. Weird.
They celebrate with tequila! As Dana fights for her life on the screens behind them from the giant Buckner.
Yeah. Judah Buckner, I think his name was.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, I mean, they're literally like, they just completely stop paying attention to what's going on. Mm-hmm. Because they don't care. They completed their rite, or at least
they
think. Then a red phone starts to ring inside of the lab, and Sitterson goes to answer it, and, I mean, the look on his face is pretty telling, that he realizes, like, oh shit, we fucked up. But yeah, we learned that Marty did not actually die. Yes, he bled out.
Yes, he bled, but he did not bleed out.
Yes, he did not bleed enough to
When the giant zombie Buckner goes to swing his bear trap down on Dana, Marty's bong to the rescue.
Yes, he literally, like, sticks it up and just stops the chain
and pulls it out of his hand.
It's so great. Every time, I mean, I've seen this movie like 20 times. Every time I'm like, yes! Marty!
And it turns out that Marty has actually discovered a hidden elevator in one of the graves of the Buckners.
Right. It's then that they actually descend into the facility.
I like this line here, and he's like, I think I can get it to go down, and Dana's like, do we want it to go down?
Right. And there's also, like, a pile of, like...
Zombie.
Yeah, it's just... It's literally like a pile of living zombie. It's gross, but it's hilarious. He's like, yes, I had to take care of that.
Right. And mind you, this is like the Return of the Living Dead zombies, not like the Night of the Living Dead zombies.
Yeah, like they keep living.
The arm keeps moving.
Yep. But they descend down into the facility, and it's now that we get to see the scope of what we are dealing with here.
We see everything from creatures to clowns to monsters to the twins from The Shining.
Yeah. I mean, they're not exact, but they're very obvious references.
Right.
Like, there's a little literal Pennywise later.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah.
Well, I took it to be more like John Wayne Gacy, because it was a clown with makeup on.
Sure, but either way, I mean, it's
anyway,
very
we also
references.
get what is very clearly meant to be a Cenobite. It's a person dressed in like black leather with like saw blades and stuff sticking out of his head, and he's holding the exact same spear puzzle that Kurt was trying to manipulate in the cabin
Exactly,
earlier.
And it's now that Dana kind of starts to put it together that, like, all of those things that were in the basement of the cabinet, or of the cabin, correlate to each of these different cubes that is holding a monster. Yeah. It's...
They exit the elevator and are cornered by security, well, one person.
Yeah.
It's one security guard stops and he basically tells the girl to get away from Marty.
Because he wants to kill Marty. Because if they kill Marty,
they can still
stop the riot. Like, they're done. If Marty dies, then everything's saved.
Marty actually dispatches the guy, or I think it's Marty.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because he's got a gun.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and Marty picks up the gun.
Oh yeah.
And then they lock themselves into a control room.
Yeah.
With a whole bunch of switches and a giant red button
comically
that says
large
System Purge.
That's labeled System Purge. Like, who does that?
The people that own this facility, apparently.
Either way, they push that damn button, and the chaos that ensues is insane. Like, it's the most fantastical display of absolute horror that's literally ever been put on screen. You get everything. Everything! Giant snakes and blood and just, oh my god, it's just...
Demon bats. Unicorns! Fucking unicorns!
Literally. Oh my god, like this whole end sequence is just, it's everything.
The whole scene is one giant homage to practically every horror film ever made prior to this.
Yeah, literally.
Almost.
I mean, they do a pretty damn good job.
At least there's, I mean, we're not going to sit here and like dissect it and point out every single... We don't have the time for that. You don't have the time for that. If you want to do it, by all means,
go right ahead.
You'll enjoy it. I guarantee you'll enjoy it. Yeah. But we're not going to do it for you. That takes the fun away from it.
Yeah, it does. Literally everyone in the lab is killed.
Well, the SWAT team definitely is.
Yes, by one of the monsters. Hadley being the most memorable because earlier in the movie, Hadley lamented about how he's always wanted the merman to show up. And you know what? That merman shows up and makes a fucking bloody, disgusting scene, and it was all done practically.
Oh, come on!
They had a man in, I mean, the way that he flopped around, I saw some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, it's hilarious. They literally had, like, a guy with, like, fish fins connected to his legs, and a blood spout coming out of his back. And when
blood blowhole, if you
Yes, a blood blowhole. It's, oh my god, it's so good!
Dana, whilst traversing underground caverns or whatever, because they did finally get out of the control room.
Yeah.
After the SWAT team shot at them.
Once things kind of got chaotic, they were able to escape.
Dana inadvertently stabs Sitterson in the stomach, rounding the corner, thinking that it was one of the monsters.
Right. And, like, we didn't mention him earlier, but Sitterson's played by Richard Jenkins, who, he's been in a few other horror movies. He's not super well known for horror, but he is a fantastic actor, and I just love him in this movie. I think he's so funny, and he's great. But inside, I mean, it kind of...
they're in this cavern that eventually leads to what looks like some type of ancient temple.
Right.
With the carvings on the walls that the blood was dripping into.
Right, exactly. And inside the temple, Dana and Marty are now greeted by the director.
Well, the director came over the loudspeaker.
Oh, yes, she did. She sure did. But then we get to meet her, and it's fucking Sigourney Weaver, okay? Sigourney fucking Weaver! I love her.
So I read that the filmmakers, and I hate the fact that
Joss Whedon and Drew Goddard.
Right. Fuck Joss
I know
Whedon.
you don't like Joss Whedon, but...
Fuck him. Fuck him. Anyway, they wanted a big horror name actor to play the director, and they kept it very hush-hush until, like, this movie came out, who was actually doing it. But yeah, they got
Ripley her fucking self.
Right.
Yeah.
Ripley and Dana Barrett.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, God. Anyways, she explains that worldwide annual rituals are held of human sacrifice to appease the Ancient Ones, a group of cruel subterranean deities.
Giant godlike beings.
Giants, yes.
Each region has its own ritual, and the American ritual involves the sacrifice of 5 archetypes. The whore, played by Jules, the athlete, played by Kurt, the scholar, played by Holden, which Kurt actually made fun of him for being a egghead earlier. I mean, Marty pointed that out, too.
Yeah, he does say that. He's like, Kurt's smart. Like, he's a psychology major.
Right, why is he all of a sudden playing this alpha male bullshit?
Right.
And the fool, played by Marty. And then there is the virgin, played by Dana, who actually questions the director, and she said, we work with what we have.
Yeah, right.
Me? Virgin? We work with what we have.
They're just playing an archetype, really. The order doesn't matter. The order that they die doesn't matter as long as the whore dies first and the virgin dies last or survives. She has to be the last to go.
I want to know who discovered these rules to appease these ancient evil deities.
Well, see, I think the thing is that Drew Goddard, Drew and Joss apparently wrote this in 3 days.
Yeah, they did.
When they sat down and wrote this, I think they said, these are the tropes. These are the tropes that are very prevalent in horror movies, and we're going to write this around that.
I mean, that does explain why the Japanese facility had, like, a girl ghost, because it's very prevalent in J-horror and everything like that. I find it interesting that... You know,
I mean, it's literally
this is the
by
rules,
region. Yeah.
Right, this is the rules for the American region, and these rules have to be specified, specifically followed, in order to appease these deities. So was there a trial and error beforehand? Or
there must have been. Something... I think the thing is that I think they have found what appeases the gods.
Obviously.
They want more blood. They want the boobs. They want these tropes. That's what... And we... As watchers, we are the gods, you guys. We are the gods in this situation. They're trying to appease us as watchers. They're saying, filmmakers that make horror movies are trying to appease the watchers, and we are literally the watchers of these films.
I mean,
we are the gods.
It is true.
So, anyways, the order doesn't matter as long as the whore dies first.
I'm feeling very godly.
The order doesn't matter as long as the whore dies first and the virgin dies last, or doesn't die at all.
Right. So the director then urges Dana to kill Marty to complete the ritual, as all of the rituals have failed that year, and if they don't, the world will end.
Yes. Dana is then attacked by a werewolf.
So, interesting point of fact here. Sigourney Weaver, once they found out that there was a werewolf in this film, signed on immediately because she's always wanted.
Cool. I love that.
She's always wanted to do a movie with a werewolf in it.
Well, and of course she had to be in the scene with it then.
Right. So every day on set, she's like, "Is the werewolf here? Is the werewolf here? Can I see the werewolf? I want to take a picture of the werewolf."
I love it. I love it.
So
I love Sigourney Weaver.
It makes you wonder if this was initially the original planned ending for it,
or if they were like, you know what, bring it in. Sigourney's in there. We're going to surprise her,
right, and give her the werewolf that she desperately wants,
right? Just like Hadley wanted his merman,
right.
Anyways, Dana is attacked by a werewolf, and at the same time, Patience Buckner kind of stumbles into the place, and...
Well, she went down the same elevator that Marty and Dana went down.
She followed them, yeah.
Which is interesting.
How she managed to reach that... I mean, I guess the point of...
I'm more curious as to who operated the elevator to bring her down. Because Marty had to rewire the damn thing.
Yeah. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Anyway, so Patience walks up and fucking hacks the director in the head with a damn axe. And they both fall into this
Marty kicks them into the pit.
Does Marty kick them into the pit? Yeah, so they both end up in the pit. Yeah, Patience and the director. And then Marty shoots the werewolf.
Well, Marty shoots the werewolf while Patience is attacking Sigourney Weaver's director. The temple floor collapses.
No, before that.
Yeah, you're right.
Dana and Marty sit down and smoke a joint together, all bloodied and beat up.
And we actually find out that they've been brother and sister the entire time.
No, they aren't.
Yeah, they are.
Stop it, James. James was mistaken. You watched his kill count, and now you believe that they are brother and sister. They are not. He went back and corrected it himself even in his kill count.
Okay.
They are not brother and sister. They're just friends. Anyways, but yeah, no, they are not related, but they decide to just let the world come to an end.
Interesting choice, but okay.
Let someone else have a chance. Humanity's had their chance.
I mean, to be fair, we as humans have kind of fucked this world up.
We really have.
But anyway, like, rumblings start happening, the temple floor collapses, and a giant hand emerges from the ground, crushing the cabin above.
Yeah.
And just slamming down on the earth, and it's a fade to black.
Yeah, yeah.
Or a cut to black,
That's our movie. That's that. And we're led to believe that the world comes to an end. Like, that is the end of humanity.
Which, if we take in consideration the world's population at the time that this film was released, makes it the highest death count in a film ever.
Yeah, because it's like, what, 7 billion people, you said?
7 billion plus.
Yeah. Which is just...
nuts.
Wow. But yeah, for me, this is a straight up Bloody Machete to the Sky. I love this movie so much. It's so funny. It's so on point on so many levels. Like, it
definitely ticks, like, the boxes for, like, the movie tropes and everything like that. So subverts the whole genre and everything.
But it does it in such a coy way that it, like... The more times you watch it, the more you catch on
100%.
all the different little nods to
other horror movies. Like the more times I watch it, the more things I see in, like, the giant elevator rooms and everything like that.
Or even just the attack scenes when they're when the monsters
happens
get out
so quick
during the system purge. Yeah, that last 10 minutes of the movie is just bonkers.
It's just balls to the wall.
Yeah,
seriously.
for sure. It's nonstop, and it's so much fun. I love this film so much. Bloody Machete up for me.
2. Straight to the sky.
Yep, it's so good. The acting is good. It's funny. It's creative. It definitely, like, it throws everything on its head in the best possible way. And
it kind of makes you feel like, I know we touched on it earlier, like Evil Dead is a part of this. It kind of makes you feel like all horror films are a part
everything
of this.
Can literally kind of be encapsulated into at least most of the American facility, the American-based horror films very much are all represented, whether it be in the elevator sequence or in the actual attack sequence with the system purge, or just represented in the different relics that are in the basement of the cabin.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's such a great movie. Such a great movie.
And with that, we are going to send it straight back to the facility underneath the cabin.
Get out of here. I don't know what the next movie is. It's going to be a surprise for you and me.
So we just did A Cabin in the Woods.
Yes.
Or The Cabin in the Woods.
Yes.
Let's revisit another Cabin in the Woods.
Oh. Okay.
One that we've been to 3 times already.
Ooh, I think I know. We've been talking about this movie through the entire film. Well, not this movie, but this franchise. Through this entire film. I'm gonna guess that it is Evil Dead 2013.
You would be correct.
Yeah!
Evil Dead 2013.
Yes.
And we have to point that out because it is technically a sequel, not a remake anymore.
Correct.
If the events of Evil Dead Rise are to be believed and the filmmaker behind Evil Dead Rise is to be believed, this is all canon with the original trilogy.
Yeah, and is not a requel or a remake. It is canon.
Initially, when this came out,
it was unknown.
We believed it was a remake.
Yeah. I don't know. I saw it in theater when it came out, like, on opening night. And I remember at the end, I was like, is it a remake? Is it in the same universe? Is it? I mean, it leaves you kind of wondering. We know now that it is in universe, but at the time, like, oh, yes. So,
come back here.
Make sure you watch this film.
Right. And come back here in 1 week's time. I swear to God, my hair will be a brighter color. I'm sorry.
Mine might be too. Maybe. Who knows? We'll see.
Come back here 1 week's time, and we will give you our thoughts on this. Until then, slash that subscribe button.
And stab the like button.
And ring-a-ling that great bell so you don't get lost in the mix and stay up to date on all of our videos on YouTube. Until then, we will see you all
in the afterlife.